Fiction students, it's Sunday, November 12th, 2023, and I look like a prowler. Yeah! A prowler of your fiction brains, right? That's what I'm talking about. Prowling your minds the way a writer does. Prowling and moving and getting a gate open in the darkness so I can prowl your consciousness the way that Beloved reaches in and reorganizes your brains. And I feel bad that only a few, well, not a few, some percentage of everybody is reading Beloved and the other one are off on their own journey. Oh, I don't hate this, actually. Doesn't that look good? I look like a prowler, though. I'm sure of it. Oh, that's nice. Even though these two groups veered apart last week, this week we all come back together. The people who read Beloved are going to be answering questions about Beloved, and sometimes you guys are going to be in the same forums. I know it sounds crazy because maybe you didn't read Beloved. Don't choose those questions to answer. So that's the simple answer there. And we're going to be getting into a story, all of us actually, because everybody who's reading Beloved is finished reading Beloved. And so we get to read a little bit more. And this week I want us thinking about magical realism. And magical realism does for literature what magical realism does for literature what surrealism does for art. And I'm not just talking about Salvador Dali's melting clocks. Magical realism has a way of warping the shared universe of the story in unpredictable ways that give us greater insight. So you're gonna see as you begin the week that we're reading a short story called The Thing in the Backyard. And I love The Thing in the Backyard because it really straddles the line between fantasy and magical realism. And how does it do that? Well, the world that it's set in is so similar, just like the fact that there's like so much realism in the world of Beloved. And by the way, folks that didn't get to read it, don't read it for this class. Read it for, read it on your own. Read it when you're having fun. I'm not, teasing by praising it so much by saying that to have such a compelling, by the way, I'm still here. It's just too dark. I got to get to the next street light or just show some creepy lights behind me. It gets dark so early, kids. What are we doing here? What happened to the sun? Sorry. Let me get back to where I was headed, which was Beloved has so much gruesome realism to dish up that, of course, there's a ghost. There has to be a ghost to talk about the impact of slavery on the past of the United States and, of course, its present. And Beloved is as much about the present of our country as it is the past. And so there's some more people around here. Good grief, everybody's walking in the darkness. So I got very distracted there. Please forgive me. I tried, listen, a wolf could get me. And that of course reminds me, yes. So Beloved has these moments of magical realism almost to underscore and highlight how impossible is everything else that is described. Of course, there are ghosts. Now, the thing in the backyard, I say it straddles that line between fantasy and science fiction. Nope, sorry, different class. I say it straddles that line between fantasy and magical realism, because it's set in like a fantastic, it's real. When he says that there's a Bob's Big Boy in Toluca Lake, I've eaten at that Bob's Big Boy in Toluca Lake. It's probably what made me fall in love with this story. It was this sort of blatant love letter to North Hollywood, where I had the pleasure to live for some time, and it is a lovely area, and crazy wild things happen there. And of course, but it goes so far, there really is almost so much that is systemically bizarre about that world that there's a conversation about whether or not it becomes a fantasy, sort of a fantasy world, a fantasy realm, or does it cling closely enough to our actual universe that it can claim to be this magical realism genre or subgenre. Subgenre of what, Chris? Fantasy, I guess. Magical realism is really also a subgenre of just regular literary fiction, because you'll find that most perfect transition to the metamorphosis. Most magical realism is actually quite literary. And this week, toward the end of the week, we're all reading The Metamorphosis. And I don't want to spoil it, as always. I don't want to spoil it, but I just want to preface that you'll notice that there's something tweaked, just enough. It's a very recognizable world, except for one little thing. Except for just one little thing, which is important to the person to whom it happens, and of course everyone that knows him. So you should have a great deal of fun this week, working out, working through this week's material. And I have to say that, and I have to mention, again, like we had a little bit of diversion, and so I already got to go in there and read the thumbs up, or not read, but view some of the thumbs up, thumbs down videos. And what a pleasure it was to, I could just tell there are students who, I almost wanted to take a video of you guys talking about your stories, because I could see the delight in your lips while you were talking. Like, I'm telling you, and you know who I'm talking about. That was so fun. I can just tell you found something you really like. And that's the point here, is that you leave this class having read around, having gone, wow, there's fiction everywhere. And I think I'll continue reading it. That's my goal here, because I really do believe that people who read fiction make better choices in the ballot box. They're going to become more resilient in their workplaces. They're going to be the ones that come up with that solution. That, let's say that your company's going through something challenging and they call you into a meeting. It's like, what are we going to do? I believe that it's those people that have a great background in fiction that are going to be the ones that have the courage, the insight, maybe the creativity, the intelligence to say something crazy. Say something crazy sometimes, because that's what it takes sometimes to find... like here, I'm going to give you guys an example too, because I don't want to end this with nothing, but sequential developmental classes, this is my world, and like we would have like beginner basket weaving, intermediate basket weaving, and advanced basket weaving. These are just examples. We used to, in the world that I grew up, when they wanted to talk about a generic class, they always talk about basket weaving. No one ever took it. There is no class called basket weaving. But let's just say that it's full-on basket weaving. That's the required course to move forward in your college career, right? So it made sense for decades to put basket weaving 1, basket weaving 2, and basket weaving 3 all in order. Well, what ended up happening was that you totally tuckered people out on learning about basket weaving. They ran out of money, or they just didn't come back for the next term. All kinds of things. Every time that there was a space in between that 3-course sequence where really only basket weaving mattered, we just lost people. And some creative people got together and said, well, wait a second, what if we put basket weaving 1 and basket weaving 2 together? We get those students right into basket weaving 3, even though they don't know anything about basket weaving, and then we have another class that they'll take simultaneously, so they'll still get the content of basket weaving 1 and 2 in one class simultaneous to the same time that they get the other course. Anyway, I know that sounds crazy. I don't know if I explained it very well, but the fact is it worked, and we raised completion rates at the college through basket weaving. For sure. Just kidding. But through whatever class I was just talking about. So I guess I'm a true believer that studying fiction isn't simply for recreation. It's because it's going to make us better in our careers. And that's, I don't know, I hope a noble ambition on my part to think that this humble course might help in that way. And also I hope a noble aspiration on yours to apply yourself to our work this week and enjoy it. And I'm going to have faith that my Clips program will upload. So, all right, dive in. And students that read Beloved, you also have that short story due, but we talked about it at the beginning of the course, so you've had weeks to work on it. I've enjoyed the phone calls of some folks who got in touch with me, pitched me their ideas. Yay, I hope that you're having fun with that. That's due at the end of this week. There is, of course, 100-point sort of response to some questions about Beloved that's also due this week. And those are just specific for you. All right, have a great week.